that God knows these things anyway. And if I just keep a clean slate with him, I become closer with God in that moment.
Welcome to the Midweek Motivation Podcast, where we bring practical help for your faith and life. Here's today's episode.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's Midweek Motivation. My name is Jess. I'm one of the pastors here at Westside. And if you've been following along, you know that we're in the middle of this series called Campfire Conversations. And really, it's just an idea of getting around the campfire and having some great conversations about some good, deep, meaningful things. And I would love if you would... okay, you're going to have to cut this part out. Come back into it. Okay. All right. So I've got a question for you when it comes to campfire conversations. Have you ever been around the campfire, maybe with your family or friends, and you're just hanging out, and after a while, stories start to get told, like stories maybe of like how your mom and dad met, or maybe of, I don't know, your parents or family members or friends talking about camp experiences from when they were kids, like camping with their family or friends or whatever. Maybe sometimes stories come up of like stupid things that you did that everybody laughs about. My question is, what if you could right now be walking in step with Jesus and living out the campfire stories that are told, that you want told, by like your kids and their families, or your grandkids and their families, or generations even past your existence, your being here on earth. And it was just really an interesting thought that I had, that I could maybe be intentional about life today so that the stories that I want told in the future could be told. And so the question is, how do we walk with Jesus today? How do we walk in step with him to be able to create that life today, right? How do we live that out intentionally? So if you think about what it looks like to walk in step with Jesus, I think about going on a walk with friends. I've got a friend that I go walking with on the regular, and after a while, you start to notice like a rhythm to your step, and you start to actually become in step with the person that you're walking with, so that your feet land at the same time as the person that you're walking with, and it got a nice rhythm to it. And so I think that the way that translates in life, walking with Jesus, is through habits. Habits are something that have a real rhythmic kind of a feel to them, right? They're things that we put in life, into our life intentionally, that are steps forward and that trigger things that move us forward, right? Okay, so what I'd like to do is run through, I'm going to give you 3 habits to put in place in a regular rhythm to walk in step with Jesus. And the first habit that I would suggest is reviewing the vision. The thing about reviewing the vision is to kind of close your eyes and look at what it is that you hope would be, or what it is that you would like to come into fruition, right? It's to be able to sit down around a campfire and think, oh my gosh, this is such a great opportunity for us to connect, right? But what are the conversations that I actually want to be in place? And the power in reviewing a vision, and to look back and think through what practically you want that to look like, to be able to close your eyes and envision what those conversations would entail, allows you to lock into that end goal. And a lot of times, being able to close our eyes and envision what it is that you want that to look like can be so challenging, because I don't know, sometimes you just don't see the possibility of that actually coming into play. And the thing is that if we can remove all of the barriers, remove all of the doubt, remove all of the naysaying, and say, this in a perfect world, if there was no challenge, if there was nothing in the way, this is what I would like it to look like. To be able to wrap your brain around that and get that picture in your head will bring you to a place where you'll become so passionate about that vision, and that all of the distractions and the things that can get in the way won't be able to put out your passion. And it'll create a space where you continue to work on building up your endurance and building up your persistence and reaching that vision. And you can partner with Jesus, you can partner with God in forming that vision. For sure, you should. But it's a habit that really ought to be first and foremost. It's a habit of dreaming with God about what the future could actually look like. And once you get that in your head, and once you get that energy and that passion in you, then nothing's going to be able to stop you, man. You're going to be able to put aside all of the distractions, put aside all of the doubts, and really push toward that thing. The habit of reviewing that passion is something that will help you to continue to move forward into that. So that is habit number 1 that I would recommend. Habit number 2 is the habit of getting to know God. And I think that can look a lot of different ways. I think that people have lots of different ways of developing that intimacy with God. Personally, some of the things that I put into place are, I have learned that a regular retreat, a regular time of getting away out of the suburbs. I live in the suburbs or the city, and getting into nature and being able just to recognize who God is through His creation. Just be able to close my eyes and feel the breeze on my skin and listen to it rustle through the trees, listen to the sound of rivers. All of that really brings me to a place of awe in God's creativity. And so that's a way for me to really become close and get to know God. Another way is to make sure that you've got a regular rhythm, a regular time of getting into God's Word, so that you understand His mind and the way that He thinks, and you can be instructed by Him and encouraged by Him. And the Bible really is an instruction booklet to life. And the longer that you invest in the Word of God and understand it and get to know Him, the more that He renews your mind and changes the way that you think and changes the way that you act and respond to things. And that really allows you to wrap your brain around the beautiful vision that God has for those campfire conversations that you might want in the future, right? So that's habit number 2, knowing God. I just to drop a little commercial here, I guess, is we at Westside, we have a spiritual habits workshop that is online that can give you some great ideas on how to build up spiritual habits that help you to know God. Another one that I've explored recently is fasting. Fasting is pretty new to me, but it's been a game changer when it comes to connecting with and knowing God more. It helps me to remove distractions, helps me to put the things that shouldn't be a focus in their right place and really spend time understanding and knowing God deeper. It's a great way to know God. All right, so that's habit number 2.
Hey, just jumping in right in the middle of this podcast episode to tell you about a resource that you need in your life. You know, if you feel ever stuck in your faith, or if you feel like, I want to grow my faith, but I just don't quite know what the steps are, we got a resource for you called Sticky Faith in a Slippery World. I mean, this world is changing and it's crazy, and we all need something firm to stand on. And I wrote a book for you called Sticky Faith in a Slippery World. You can get your copy right now at the link in the description.
Habit number 3 is what I have been told is the habit of a clean slate. And that comes from our very wise Pastor Ken here around Westside. And what that is just keeping a clean slate with God. I think for years I wrestled personally with with being able to come to God with the things that I struggle with things that maybe are in a closet somewhere that I just close the door on and pretend don't exist, things that I know God doesn't approve of that are sin in my life. And the thing about sin and the thing about not having a clean slate is every time something like that comes into play in our life and we don't immediately run to that and confess it and ask Jesus for forgiveness for that and ask for direction and how to turn that thing around. Every time we step aside that process, every time we sidestep that process, we are creating a wedge between us and God. And I've felt that significantly in my own life and gotten to my own personal point of recognizing that God knows these things anyway. And if I just keep a clean slate with him, if I just come to him immediately when that situation comes about and pray for forgiveness and ask for direction in removing that thing or turning around and changing that behavior, I become closer with God in that moment. It draws me closer to Jesus in that moment. So that's habit number 3, is to forget about hiding those things, but just to really directly and immediately come straight to Jesus about them and confess them so that I've got a clean slate and there are no wedges between me and Jesus. And so that's another way to make sure that I'm staying in step with him. All right, those are the 3 habits that I would recommend, though I know that there are thousands more that we can put in place. I think that the beautiful thing about those habits is that they draw us close to God and into a place of closeness and intimacy and worship. And from that place of worship, God's influence and his light and his transformation flows through everything else. It flows into our lifestyle. It flows into our relationships. It flows into our work. And on Sunday, in our Campfire conversations, Pastor Gabe and Caleb painted this beautiful picture of the fact that all of those things that God asks us to light up in our life, our lifestyle, our relationships, and our vision, all of that stuff is really just stems from an intimacy of God. And when we recognize and lean into that intimacy with God and we get closer and closer to him, then really that light overflows naturally. And that's something that that actually becomes less work and more of just a joyous outpour of our closeness with God. And so really all of the closeness that we have with Jesus, that intimacy becomes just an outpouring that flows out into our lifestyle and the way that we behave, into our relationships with people and into our work. And those are the things that we want our kids and our grandkids and our family and our friends and even generations to come. Those are the stories that we want them to be telling around the campfire, right? So spend some time thinking about what you want those things to look like and how you can continue to implement these habits so that you can walk in step with Jesus. Thank you so much for joining this Midweek Motivation. If you didn't catch Sunday's message, you want to make sure and go back and catch that. It was so great, so encouraging, and we'll catch you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Midweek Motivation. To make sure you don't miss any content in the future, please subscribe, share, and if you enjoyed this, give us a like. And consider popping by a Westside service some weekend. You can find out more at westsidecommunitychurch.com.